Hello YouTube and welcome to episodes 11 and 12 in my Koyomimonogatari reaction series. Back here again today, Monogatari Monday, ready to finish off Koyomimonogatari before heading into more Monogatari after the fact. Yeah, I don't know, I'm in a bit of a weird mood today, so we'll see how it goes. I'm excited to finish off these two episodes. Let's say that. First things first, housekeeping. There's a poll currently running on the channel to replace that midweek slot, the slot that used to be Oshinoko. So, if you have access to the Discord, you can go into the poll section there and have a vote if you feel like doing so. I will put options here, probably in post, just so people can look at it. So if people look at it that only watch Monogatari and then say, oh shit, I really want to watch Tamako Market, then they can go and watch Tamako Market. I don't know, vote for what you want is basically what I want to say. Other than that, I'm going to get up the YouTube comments here, and go into them today. There's only 4, but as you can see, Gian Bueno's done one again today, so it's a very long one. We kind of go into that first chapter that's skipped of each of the segments I did last week, the 3 episodes I did do. And just before I get into anything else, I'm very happy that this week I'm going to do there's going to be 2 or essentially one full episode of Monogatari. It's going to be one episode of whatever the hell wins the poll, and it's going to be Symphogear kind of wrap-up stuff with some tier lists and that. So it's a very quiet week. I'm very happy about it, coming off last week where I made 4 videos and did 8 episodes of anime. That was a lot. It was a lot, I'm going to be honest. So the first episode we did last week was all about Orgi. It was Koyomi Mountain. Yes, it was Koyomi Mountain. So what would she have to say about roads, continuing this kind of theme that we have with all of the different characters in their first chapters of their little Koyomimonogatari arc? So yeah, we're relating this immediately to her stuff about intersections and traffic lights, but not really necessarily roads. Again, roads being a general metaphor for a story as a whole, or life as the way I see it, in whatever we're talking about. Again, very broad. She may have talked about it one time in the past, but Araragi Forgore, that doesn't sound like him. Her words have a strange way of disappearing from his memory. Not just her words, actually, her behavior, her appearance, they're all difficult for Koyomi to retain. Gone with the wind. Stop talking about wind. No, but this all tracks with what we know about Araragi's perception of Orgi. So yeah. So he barely recollects that he maybe had a conversation about road construction with her ages ago. But he remembers it like it was yesterday, apparently. So, okay. Araragi-senpai, sorry if I sound political, but in our society, roads mainly seem to be a means of creating jobs and stimulating the economy, don't they? With all the maintenance, repairs, and construction. Not so much space for walking or running, the engineering project itself is what makes a road a road. In the modern world, the goal of a roadway lies in the very act of opening up the path. Okay, this is very Orgi, because not talking about the utility of the road or staying in the moment of a road, or whatever that means, talking more about its construction, seeing it from an outsider point of view, potentially a unique point of view that's a little bit, dreary, I guess? Not so happy with the world. Definitely tracks with a lot of Orgi's worldview, I think. Even if it's a road that not a single person will ever walk down, it doesn't matter. The act of creating a road where there wasn't one before is enough to give it meaning. And again, road being story and or life, apply that how you may. Orgi proceeds to ask Araragi if he thinks building such a road that no one will ever walk down, is that meaningless? Maybe you do think that, Araragi-senpai. After all, my uncle tells me you've got a tendency to look for too much meaning in everything. Is it me? But I'm not saying that it's meaningless, I'm just saying that it's wrong. Araragi couldn't tell if she meant wrong as in different or wrong as in mistaken, so he didn't answer and instead turned it around on her. What does she think? Was it meaningless or not to build a road that no one will walk down? Orgi was all too happy to answer the question, and grinning cheerfully, as always, as she says, unfortunately, as to what the answer was, Araragi has no recollection. Hardy, ha. Yeah, extremely Orgi conversation, by the way, where she acts like, well, she probably does know way more than she's letting on, and Araragi's just kind of along for the ride. Now moving on to Taurus, and we'll talk about Taurus in a minute, and where is it? This, oh my god, Taurus is all about trust. I'm so stupid. Oh my god. You don't want to see my face when I read that comment the first time. I'm like, of course it is. Of course it is. Why else would you use such an abstract word like Taurus? Anyway, back down to this one. So, of course, Taurus is about Shinobu, Kiss Shot, and the first chapter of which actually takes us all the way back to Kizu and recalls the time right after Kiss Shot had gotten her full powers back and they were having a heart-to-heart conversation on the roof of the abandoned school. I remember this scene. I think the lighting was really good. She's like got her full form and they're like walking around and it's all very peaceful, and then something happens and then we walk back inside and we see that she's like eating person, and then that's bad. I think I think that's what happens. Again, long time ago. And of course, Shinobu speaks in like silly language, so we're gonna try. Verily, the road at night be no cause for alarm to one such as I. 'Tis rather the noonday road with its blazing orb hanging overhead that presents danger. Excuse me. And yet on the night road, the next step is ever shrouded in darkness, an unseen path. Canst truly call a path unseen a path at all. For a road to function as a road, it clearly has to be delineated. To put it another way, so long as you walk with your eyes closed, whatever path you may be on isn't functioning as one, it's just the ground. So you need to see the path ahead to delineate what the path is. Otherwise, you could just be walking anywhere. And we're relating that to vampirism, right? So, like, on the night road where I'm safe, right? It's shrouded in darkness, so I can't really even see. I'm kind of just going, right? So when I'm a vampire, path kind of doesn't exist almost in a way. And then when we're talking about, hey, the sun's out, I can actually see where I'm going, I'm not allowed to be out there. Is that talking to the way that maybe this path talk is something only for humanity to try to accomplish, right? Maybe? Where a monster's path is less important? Or an aberration's path? I don't know. I don't know what we're getting at here. Maybe it's more specific to Shinobu. Oh, no, then we're talking about streetlights. Oh, streetlights thou sayest. Of old 'twas not but the moon that illuminated the roads at night. The perfect disk of the moon. Unfortunately, the moon wasn't that full that night, as she gazed with longing at the night sky, illuminating the night road. So everything I set up here is probably wrong, and we're more talking about like a streetlight metaphor. Okay. I feel like I've talked about streetlights before. We've talked about traffic lights. I don't know, weird one. Before moving on, I'd like to make an insertion here. In the novel, Araragi stumbles upon an almost dead Kiss Shot under a streetlight, not in an underground station, like in the movies. So this passage actually strikes me as a meaningful one. Okay, so let's take that interpretation and apply it back here, right? That I was actually like, okay, so I could have been out in the darkness somewhere, not with a road to continue into life. Instead, this streetlight, and by extension the moon, maybe times in the past, have come to the rescue there. Okay, and that me in the darkness, if I was in the darkness as opposed to the light there, then I couldn't have accessed the path, i.e. story. Something in that, I think. Yeah, this is definitely needed to understand this, I think. Then we've got Koyomi's seed, and we're wondering if Yotsugi even makes a distinction between roads and everything else. Is she simply emulating humans when she moves one leg after the other, or has she actually got some kind of process there where she wants to go where she wants to go? Is she just imitating them? If crawling were to become the next big thing for humanity, would she just start crawling around without a second thought? Like crawling being less efficient of a movement method, you would think. Okay, so we're kind of doing two sides here, right? So she's a Shikigami, her way of life must be goal-oriented, but she's also an aberration that doesn't express or possess the life force to continue to have that way of life in the first place, so maybe it's like a conflict there, relentlessly pushing her one way, whilst it ultimately being meaningless because there's no actual life behind it. Then at some point when Araragi was taken along on a trip with her unlimited rulebook, she started explaining this in her monotone, lacking intonation or even context. For me, the safest way to travel isn't walking on the ground or soaring through the sky, it's probably burrowing through the earth, tunneling through the earth like a mole. I think that's probably the safest way for me to travel. At first, Araragi thought she was making a joke and then started to think about it. In that kind of environment, there's no fear of a surprise attack, given the lack of obstructions in the sky. Aerial movement naturally allows for the greatest velocity, but lacking obstructions also means lack of potential cover. She just quietly shook her head at his interpretation. No, it's because there are no people around. No people around. There was no one for her to imitate, hence no one to be influenced by. There was a place where she could truly be herself. Okay. Sure. this one's kind of going over my head a little bit. Are we talking about like, okay, imitating humans is part of the one of her goals in life, to imitate humans, right? And then like, because she can finally like exist outside of her goal oriented kind of life, right? Her drive there, that it's peaceful, it's somewhere that she can actually be herself. Maybe. What is herself, right? What is this personality that she seems to have that's quite funny? I do not know. Yeah, again, I don't know how useful much of this stuff really is, right? I just like talking about it, so I'm going to keep talking about it. But I mean, is this going to enhance meaning for the final anime stuff with Monogatari, considering it's not included in the anime? I don't know. I do not know. Just a final couple tidbits here as well. Clearing the shrine was talking about using all the energy gathered there to travel back in time, which is then also connected to the events with the first, so he's just kind of talking about all that in tandem. And then we're talking about Ononoki, so there's some specific stuff like, well, Kanki's in town for a whole month, why did it matter that it was when, this certain day that Araragi needed to be like watched or needed to be known of? It was because he was off his normal path, right? So Kaiki had done his research. He knows what Araragi normally does, where he normally walks, and that kind of thing. It's because he went to this test thing that day with Senjukahara that, like, it could have been random where he would have been, so we needed Yotsugi to come in and help and let Kaiki know that Araragi is here. He's here, do not come here. So yeah, it's important that maybe discussion about paths or something there as well. I do not know. But sure. Moving on to the next comment here by MC Steve. Secrecy, negotiation, love. Koyomimonogatari. It's hard to make a Koyomimonogatari connection when no characters that feature in Koyomimonogatari in that part of the story. So we're talking about Taurus there, right? Specifically, like, am I hiding these donuts to increase secrecy and negotiation skills, or is it all about love? And of course, yes, you can relate these three specific emotions to Koyomimonogatari, but other than that, I fail to see how this connection means anything at all, really. But sure, it solved the one that I couldn't solve, so we'll take that. And then this is kind of like whatever. I don't know, like. So I made the argument in Seed that the whole Oshino people can only help/save themselves is kind of in counter to the learnings in Seed, that, hey, Araragi actually had all these people around him helping him this entire time, which by the time we get to the end of Seed, that's post all of the Nadeko situation, where again, Gai Nezuko, Yotsugi, Kaiki are all helping in the background there, even Senjukahara. So like, but again, I understand that these aren't directly in contrast, right? They're not mutually exclusive terms that people can only help/save themselves, and that help is good, right? We take this back to Hitagi Crab, where, technically Oshinomeme helped a lot, but a lot of it was also Senjukahara learning to face this weight, right? Taking it back to basically the most simple Monogatari segment. It's complex, right? Because a lot of the series is casting judgment on Araragi for being too selfless, for putting too much in his own shoulders and not asking for help, right? Isn't that kind of what the end of Shinobu Mail is about, right? Where Araragi, faced with a situation where he can't possibly help everyone all at once, he needs to place trust in other people to potentially help themselves, whilst also in the end helping them as well. So again, and I can apply that to many, many different arcs. There's lots going on there, and I don't think that they're essentially mutually exclusive. That's what I'm trying to say there, right? And again, Oshinomeme probably already knew this through some cryptic language stuff too, that probably goes over our head, which is cool. Oh, and of course, bringing it back to even the silly philosophy in Spring Break. Having friends makes you less human. I don't need friends. Making friends would degrade my personal strength. And this relates to Ononoki in the first chapter. She is seemingly that monster Araragi thought he was, on the pretense of pure emulation. Weird. Sure. This is becoming clear to me through my discussion here briefly that this is one of the main themes of the entire show, and the kind of trying to justify having personal strength and personal growth there whilst also accepting help and needing help and understanding when help is necessary and when I need to take on my own battles. And last couple of comments here from Simon. Going into 10th episode, I expected to see Koyomi's seed, but I couldn't find it. Well, you're being cryptic or dirty. I don't know what. I don't know which one, if I'm honest. But go off, Simon. You did great. And then creator last comment here. Not really into Koyomimonogatari, but excited for next week's episodes. So this is something I wanted to talk about as well. Just picking up the general vibe of the place. These next 2 episodes are important. If we're thinking about placement, right? And I'll bring up my timeline now, actually. The last one we did was January. So we can infer today that this will be February and March. So look forward to that. But if we look down here and we scroll down a little bit further, so this is February, which is Symphogear, so very cool there. Day before Valentine's Day too. I'm sure I talked about that at one point or another. And March, not really much anything. There's a part in Shinobu Mail, which, again, if I was watching in novel order, I wouldn't have seen already, so sure. Or maybe this is related to Hana Monogatari? Again, the latest point in the story at this point, to my knowledge, and again, I think this here, where it says March graduation, should say May graduation, so maybe that's a little bit further down. This is the latest we've seen, right? Because we haven't seen graduation at all. We know that Araragi does graduate. So no. So in Hana Monogatari, Araragi has graduated. So this must have been here. Okay, cool. Never mind. But this is the latest point in the story. But the latest point we see Araragi is here in Symphogear, where we kind of end on a weird thing where Araragi is simultaneously aware that Orgi's fucked and is doing nothing about it, and is accepting Yotsugi's help in that regard of her just kind of being around the house. And then there goes the other prediction as well, where, hey, we haven't talked to Gai Nezuko yet. That's another girl. Other than that, I don't know who else would be left, really, right? And it's going to be left as a surprise. Maybe it'll be, again, a surprise, somebody we haven't even really seen before. I do not know. But yeah, I just wanted to get across that the vibe is these episodes are big. There's been a kind of thing in Discord about predicting what my title to this video will be, so I don't know what that means, but sure, we're going to take that with a grain of salt as well. I think I'm just going to jump in. There's not really much to reconfirm, other than I think Gai Nezuko will show up, and I think that this next episode will broadly be about Symphogear. So yeah, we'll see. Potentially a talk about Symphogear's themes as well, where it's all about Yotsugi, human doll, monster, human stuff, as well as our place in the story, where we're up on the shrine again. Old mate Tadatsuru's up there. There's the stuff about Araragi's vampiric powers, of course, so he can't really use his vampirism again, so maybe we'll talk about that. And at the end, of course, a bunch of question marks, because that episode still haunts my dreams. Okay, and I've definitely talked enough now, so I'm going to do my shill stuff. If you like the video, consider liking the video. If you like the video and you want to see more, consider subscribing to the channel. Comment below anything you thought about the episode, anything I can do to improve my presentation, comment below. I'm doing follow for follow on Twitter, so follow me on Twitter if you'd like me to follow you back. And the Discord. Join Discord, love Discord, Discord. And yes, jumping into episode 11 of Koyomimonogatari right now. Rightio, I've got a very, very dark episode 11 of Koyomimonogatari up here ready to go. 11 minutes and 21 seconds on this one, so sync up accordingly. To my knowledge, that's maybe a little bit lower than normal, I think, which is weird. There will be a picture-in-picture version provided in the description below, and using the Toishi subs? Toishi? Yes, I am. So yeah, I'm going to give this a 3, 2, 1 and watch it and say it was probably pretty good. Because it probably will be. Rightio. 3, 2, 1, go. Oh, that's just not subbed. That's cool. Koyomi Nothing, February. Koyomi Nothing? This looks a lot like Symphogear already. Oh, Kaganui. What was that sound? Alright, my headphones are a little low too. I was wondering why all my audio tests were so low. It's probably because my headphones were low. Also, why are we fighting? Is there, like, okay, it depends when in February this was, because why are you using your powers? Why did you challenge her? End of February. Oh, you're fighting her without your powers. Gotcha. Interesting. Oh, well, that's no good. I don't really want to die. To protect you. Oh, I mean that too. Hello, doll. Isn't that like your dream? Okay. Yeah, this is a cool question. Okay. Okay, fair enough. I've been there. Uh, okay. Okay, so she spazzed out on some kid. I was about to ask that question. No, most certainly does. Yeah, I wish you could step on me or something. That'd be cool. Okay, sure. Ash. That's another interesting question. No, I know what it is. Yeah, is it reciprocated? Well, that was certainly the reflection in Nisei, right? Good point. Also, good point. Yeah, there's no name there. Denoting importance? What is that face? I did say I wish that she would step on me. Yeah, be more casual. Okay. Well, I thought you were going to tell me some information. Well, I don't think Aragi's going to be able to. What is this turtleneck? I think you would have a pretty good idea. Why not? Why are they bathing in pudding? Oh, because boobs. Gotcha. No, there was a time. There was a whole episode about it, actually. Indeed. One is illegal. Okay, so she got tricked. Okay, I'm your apprentice. I do not know. Okay. Just flee. How did you infer that? But sure. I'm happy Tsukihi's having a good time, though. It is very perceptive. Oh, so she said something considered impossible. Okay. I mean, you're right. He had a brain blast as a result. He thinks he's Steve Jobs. Okay. Where's our conclusion? Because I feel like we're towards the end. Okay. There you go. There's a punchline. Mm-hmm. Yep. Gotcha. I do not know. What? Yu Shinobu? Oh, exactly. I was about to say that. What is this? I'm gonna shoot her with my gun. Why is she eating donuts like that? Why is it a donut gun? I'm gonna shoot her with my gun. Okay. Shoot her with your gun. Why is it so quiet? I have many questions. The other part was I thought that she wasn't allowed on the mountain. Thoughts? Thoughts? Wasn't that the reason she was walking on trees? She kind of didn't set foot on the mountain now that I think about it. She was always up in the air on top of like the structure itself, right? But I think this is implying that something potentially happened to her. And we can also infer some other things, right? So if she doesn't want to talk about the relationship between her and Ononoki, right? Because it's potentially too personal or something like that, right? Then we can imply that it's too personal and that it's probably pretty strong, right? Like considering it insensitive enough that you would give Araragi an impossible task to basically tell him to fuck off. And then he gets a donut gun. I don't really get that part, but sure. I feel like this is broadly setting up for a 12, and the vibes are bad. I'm going to tell you right now, the vibes are horrendous. Why is it called Koyomi Nothing? I do not know. That's some Orgy-ass title. Koyomi Nothing. I do not know. Okay. But sure. Go off. I guess. And yeah, a quick bit of analysis on episode 11 of Koyomimonogatari. And went back, I had a reread on the episode there and wrote a little summary. I finally understood what Araragi meant during the final part where he got like the donut gun and stuff. I understood. Oh my god, I did it twice. Understood what he was trying to do there and why he did the things he did. But again, the she not being there is the biggest thing going forward, I think. I should talk about placement because it confused me initially. So remember we learned in Tsukimonogatari that there's an end to Araragi's vampiric powers. If he does use them again, then he'll probably end up full vampire, full vamp mode. And of course that, interacting with the human monster dichotomy stuff that we've got going on in Tsukimonogatari as it pertains to Ononoki or Yotsugi. So yeah, that's what comes before that. So that's what confused me when I saw them fighting initially. I'm like, so what gives? If this is the end of February and he's fighting with these vampiric powers, then like... But he wasn't. He was fighting with these physical powers. It was actually in a attempt to improve his physical powers, his physical prowess, to be able to fight without the need of reliance on his vampiric stuff. Again, probably taking a learning from the end of Tsukimonogatari, one interpretation, which is that monster bad. It's probably the interpretation that Augie wanted him to take from this as well. Think about that. That hey, my vampire powers are bad. I don't want to become a monster like Yotsugi who just goes out and kills random people like Tadatsuru, right? So I got to try to avoid that as much as possible and improve my fighting skills. Can we talk to much that comes after this? Not really, other than this spooky part with Shinobu Male as it pertains to Dreamspan, Gainazuko something. With the... Again, he has his like full name here, which I probably should have written down as well. Shishirui Seishiro, something like that. Either way, let's scroll back up. So Araragi challenges Kaganui to fight to improve fighting skills without aid of vampiric abilities. They get to talking on the topic of Ononoki. And the topic of Ononoki is brought up. It would be great if I could read what I just wrote. Araragi then pries into the relationship between Ononoki and Kaganui, implying some stuff about the certain language that they use, and is given an ultimatum that if he is to land one hit on Kaganui, that she would tell him the answer. So, Araragi goes to Karen for help because she's a martial artist. How the hell am I going to hit her if she's beating my ass, basically, right? And Karen, who's not particularly smart, is smart enough to imply that what she meant by this ultimatum was that I don't want to give you the answer, that this is an impossible task that I've given you, and that I really don't want to, like, reveal that information, right? So, now we have to, now that we have this information, us being Araragi, we have to make it seem like we don't know this information, but have a plan smart enough to convince Kaganui that we're genuinely trying to pry the information out of her, right? Which is a weird thing, right? We need to come up with a plan simultaneously smart enough to convince Kaganui that we don't know, that it actually is our best attempt, whilst also not a plan smart enough that it'll actually work and will put her between a rock and a hard place. And that's how I think we land on Donut Gun. We don't want Kaganui to know that he knows, So then we get stupid Donut Gun. We go up to Shrine, and she isn't there. So what gives? And then it says to be continued, implying that whatever's next, again, this is the end of February, you could imply that the next one would start at the start of March. We're going to figure out some stuff. These two seem interlinked. I think I specifically remember people telling me to watch 11 and 12 in tandem. So yeah, I don't have much of that beyond that. I don't have much to say. I don't think that this one's meant to be picked apart like I've been doing the other ones. I think this is step one in a larger tale, right? This is the first half. I do think the discussion of various character motivation here is broadly pretty interesting, as well as it continuing the stuff from Monogatari, which I've talked about before, specifically monster human stuff. And then I think we also did a little bit of relationship between Mononoke and Kaganui in that season as well. I mean, they were in it, so it probably came up in passing. I will say there's also the doll stuff brought up visually. We see Tsukihi playing with Yotsugi like she is a doll, like she is not human, further separating her from humanity. So yeah, I mean, I think I'm just going to bring it up because I think I'll have way more to say once I've watched 12 as well. I do like a very still start, our focus on these cherry blossoms yet to bloom. Again, we're going into spring again, right? February would be the end of winter going into spring, right? That's how this would work. I think so, with all the snow around and the trees about to blossom, I guess, or at least the buds being there. And color palette wise, it reminds me of Monogatari a lot. So I think that's working for me for placing it within the story without having a timeline. And then we see immediate fight with like stupid sound effects, which I thought was kind of funny, where Kaganui just kind of beats his ass. A lot of content in Monogatari is Kaganui beating Araragi's ass, if I think about it right. So again, let's break it down. You got your ass beat as like a vampire, right? As a supercharged vampire back in frickin' Nisei Monogatari, right? You are now fighting without vampiric powers in an attempt to get stronger against somebody that already bested you with the powers. This was never going to work. She is like playing with you. You had a bit more substance to you when I fought you over the summer, says Kaganui. And again, I think she's always standing on some bullshit. That's why the whole thing with not being able to go on the mountain or climb up the mountain still makes sense. That's why she was bouncing on the trees before as well. So why is Araragi fighting Kaganui? Things have quieted down, so I thought I'd approach you for some training. Essentially, this is sparring, right? In the future, when I face a difficult situation, it'd be nice not to rely on my vampiric powers. Well, considering if you use them, you will become vampire, and that is bad, as established in Monogatari. So Kaganui figures it out, but warns him that he should refrain from doing this. If you're trying to learn my technique through battles like this, you'll die before you master them. And then further implies that I made Yotsugi infiltrate your home, so you wouldn't have to deal with apparitions for a while, and we could focus on this Orgi threat. We know that Orgi wants you, right? Or, again, I don't know if we're aware of Orgi, but somebody wants you. We got to protect you. I'm putting Yotsugi in here as your bodyguard, right? It's to stop you from needing to fight. But apparently it pains Araragi to live a carefree life being protected by a young girl and a preteen girl. I'd imagine implying Shinobu and Yotsugi, right? But that's what keeps the other side from nonchalantly reaching out to attack. In any case, in regard to learning from me, you're better off not trying to do the impossible. Okay. So yeah, again, bringing up this impossible thing, like it's impossible to hit me, it's impossible to learn my technique. We don't really talk about it much more than this. There's some stuff about like beating up elementary school kids, but sure. The other part is, yeah, so nonchalant attacks. Sounds like Orgi, right? If Orgi is anything, she is nonchalant. So how did you get involved in the world of apparitions? I think it started back in kindergarten when I punched a brat that ticked me off. True, I've been there. It was last week, actually. Now that I think about it, that brat might have been possessed by something evil. Okay? And that's a tale from before I was a specialist in immortal apparitions. And the reason why you specialize in these specific immortal apparitions now is because it doesn't matter if you go too far, right? On the flip side, that implies that you've gone too far many different times. Is that why they're your specialty? I guess you could say that's how it works. That's fucking badass. I have to work with immortal people because I'm too strong that I'll fucking murder normal people if I'm dealing with them. She's strong, eh? And then by the end of the episode, she's fucking missing. So something must have gotten her. Implies there's something stronger than her around, right? Or she's fucking hiding or something. I don't know. But yeah, I think that's what the end of the episode's trying to imply. Somebody that is impossibly strong for Araragi to beat at this moment in time has been gotten by something. And then we get a little bit fourth wall. What's with all these questions? Are you trying to get me to join this rumored Araragi harem? How does she know? No, such an evil organization doesn't exist. I can assure you it does, and it's most of the cast of the show, actually. I wish I was of the caliber to make advances at you. But then what was the other sub here? Caliber aside, at this rate, I'd no longer be human at all. Okay, so we're kind of double entendreing, right? Between, like, the caliber to go at you romantically, but also the caliber to go at you, like, fighting-wise, I think, right? I'd no longer be human at all regardless. If that happens, I'll kill you, so don't worry about it. Okay, thank you. And then we do, like, a chapter swap here where Araragi asks the question of what's her relationship to Ononoki-chan, and this will maintain most of the rest of the story of this episode. So she seems surprised initially, I'll say, but, like, tries to play it like not looking him in the eyes, looking up, like, playing it like, hey, this is just a work thing. I am this to her and she is this to me. These terms, not inferring a close relationship. But she calls you One-chan, right? So what gives? And then she claps back. Well, she calls a lot of people big brother and big sister, right? She calls you Koyomi Oni-chan or Oni Oni-chan, right? Calls Oshino probably Oni-chan, calls Kaiki Oni-chan. So, like, and we've seen this in the show, so we can, say this. But again, Araragi keeps pushing on, again, what was considered the interpretation from Nisei, or one of the, I guess, subtextual ones, is in that, like, we're reflecting not brother-sister, but, like, sibling relationships, right? Where we're reflecting the martial artist, older sister, and the younger sister that's kind of like an aberration, weird, non-human thing. So yeah, I mean, like, the relationship implied here between you and Ononoki has always been pretty close. So again, as I've said in the past, right, she's only protective about this and gives him an impossible ultimatum to protect this relationship, right? To not reveal her truest feelings, which are probably pretty strong. Like Araragi noticing that, like, there's no additive onto the One-chan, right? Like, it's just One-chan. There's no, like, Kagenui One-chan. It's just One-chan. Like, you're the only one that matters. It's not like I need to hide anything, so I'll tell you. But when you ask so formally, I don't feel like telling you. I didn't say I wouldn't tell you. Let's see, how about we continue with that battle? One blow is enough. If you fight me and manage to land a single blow, I'll tell you what Yotsugi's true nature is. Or, in comparison to you, I'm guessing. So then we immediately go to Karen, and we put in our Steve Jobs cosplay. I have no idea why. He rocks a turtleneck like no one else, Araragi. I'll tell you what. And this is funny. This is a nice fourth wall break. So Araragi basically continues the conversation from the conversation with Kagenui straight into this one. Like, turns and talks to Karen. And of course, Karen wasn't at the scene, so she has no idea what he's talking about. Like, just, yeah, funny fourth wall contrivance talk. Like, the rest of the scene should imply that he just told Karen the situation, but he didn't. He just kind of continued. Because he can't go into detail. There's this fiendishly strong person. I need to land a punch on her. How do I do it? Originally, she plays it pretty straight, but gets, like, boob convinced at some point. It's weird. So, like, refusing to tell him, but then there's, like, some weird logic fallacy about boobs or something that Araragi convinces her with. Yeah, Karen's kind of stupid. That's basically what we're trying to get across here, and she's also, like, bathing in a bath of pudding, implying some things potentially about her breasts. Anyway, on with the episode. So how can I land this punch on someone that's clearly stronger than myself? It's impossible. In all seriousness, yeah, it's impossible. If there's that big of a skill difference, you shouldn't fight at all. It's basically futile. Martial arts dictates you should flee from opponents like that. I feel like this is an important line too. Araragi does return though, and Kagenui fled? I don't think she's fled. I think there's something happened to her. This is what I was talking about before. There's various scenes in the episode where Tsukihi is treating Yotsugi basically like a doll, like pulling her face, dressing her up, sleeping with her, like all sorts of stuff like that, right? And then Karen's like super smart randomly, right? So we just called her stupid, but now she's super smart. Based on your story, it's probably something like, the person will answer your question if you land a blow, right? Well, isn't that a gentle refusal? So if she knows that you can't land a hit, and then asks you to land a hit, It's basically like telling you no without telling you no, potentially inferring it was an insensitive question that she didn't really want to talk about. And yeah, Araragi didn't really think about this and he kind of zeroed in on the needing to land a blow thing, which could potentially be seen as kind of rude. And then he has like a Jimmy Neutron brain blast and figures some stuff out, right? So Kaganui was trying to be respectful, handle things as an adult, and politely say no. Now you need to respect that while simultaneously showing off that you don't know this for respect reasons. Karen giving the advice here. I'd do my best not to disrespect someone who was so considerate of me. At the least, I'd make sure the person didn't catch on that I saw through things and realized that the battle was just a misdirection. I have to nonchalantly hide my intent to acknowledge Kaganui-san's feelings. Again, Yotsugi being dressed up in the process as well. I particularly like this shot here. Like where she's kind of in the foreground, like almost trying to take like a selfie with her. I think that's cool. So in challenging her, I now need some kind of excuse to imply that I am trying my hardest. A way to land a blow on Kaganui, not to win, but to skillfully lose, right? So something, again, striking that balance. He's at a total loss right now, and then we move on to our epilogue. How exactly did I plan to throw the fight? I decided to use the same approach as when I faced Kaganui over the summer break. And that was, he used Shinobu basically during summer break. He sucked more of her blood and became more vampiric. I think that's the implication anyway. Wait, no, that was to have Oshino Shinobu drink my blood to increase my vampiric nature. Other way around. Gotcha. However, of course, he couldn't use this tactic now due to the vampiric nature needing to be stopped. But he's still going to rely on Shinobu regardless. We're going to make use of her ability to materialize items and make me a pistol. And it looks like donuts because Shinobu made it. So like, it's also probably another anime reference I've been querying, but I could not tell you what it is. So Kaganui said one blow, so his plan is to make up that his best plan was to use a gun because she only said blow, but then it's a stupid donut gun, so I don't know. And I think we're implying here that we're rewarding Shinobu with donuts in the creation of this too. And this is the simplest idea that we could come up with, to the point where it's still good enough that it seems like an actual plan. Yeah, this specific shot here of Araragi, right? If it'll load correctly. Yeah, this seems like reference, right? And then that effect too. So stupid high schooler made up a stupid plan to do a stupid game and win a stupid prize, which is nothing. This is basically what he tries to get across here, right? It has a 100% failure rate. This is looking for a prompt response to a nonchalant act of insensitivity, for cleaning up after an act of carelessness, and it should get a passing grade for that. And now we go into what I think is most important going forward. So up to this point, the episode's been like fine. I think the general conceit of it, the kind of like threading the needle of the story to try to get to this perfect position with Kaganui after like so many levels of understanding is pretty interesting, but again, I don't think it really implies much about our understanding of the rest of the show, right? Because like, it just doesn't. I think the stuff about Symphogear is interesting, how it pertains to him not wanting to use vampirism all through this part of the story and wanting to get stronger regardless of that, and then prying about the Ononoki relationship because of that, maybe prying into her humanity a little bit more, or how she considers Yotsugi. So, okay, listen. What if... Okay, let me break this down. This is gonna take some leaps. What if what if Kaganui telling him her interpretation of Yotsugi is damaging to whatever Orgi's plan was from Symphogear, right? So her plan in Symphogear is to make Araragi feel more and more alone and disassociate himself from his friend in Yotsugi because of her monstrous nature, right? Well, maybe this information revealed from Kaganui would have put a dent into that monstrous nature through revealing that, hey, we actually have a pretty close, almost human relationship, almost like familial, right? So, whatever Orgi can do to prevent them from meeting again, she has done, right? I don't know why it's called Koyomi Nothing. Is it because the story is fucking nothing? I don't know. Either way, I guess I should play the rest. So no music, just ambience, kind of almost eerie, right? We walk up, we get various panned shots of the shrine as a whole, and Araragi remarks that the specialist with no losses in her life, Kaganui Yozuru, was gone. With one flower petal falling on one specific part, there's a specific emptiness or darkness to the middle of the shrine, the gap that was created with Yotsugi as well. And yeah, to be continued. I would imagine we're continuing whatever the hell this is into March, right? The search for Kaganui, probably going to Gai Nezuko for some answers with that, maybe. And then implying some further things with that. But again, the comments are implying there's some kind of bigger revelation here. So I'm thinking that episode 12 in particular is going to be pretty big. But yeah, that was a very, very interesting episode, and it's got my brain ticking with some Orgy stuff, as I was just talking about before. I've talked about the Suki-Monogatari connection. I've talked about how the story is simultaneously fucking nothing, but also pretty clever, where Araragi has to thread this needle of showing that he doesn't know something whilst almost not doing too good, whilst showing that he respect, whilst also showing that he doesn't understand that he needs to show respect. It's interesting. So yeah, it was good, but also I think it needs to be viewed in tandem with the next one. So I'll bring that up very shortly. And again, I've got a very dark episode 12 of Koyomimonogatari up here ready to go. 12 minutes and 15 seconds on this one, so sync up accordingly. Twish Y subs, picture in picture in the description below, and just going to give it a 3, 2, 1. Rightio? 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, I do not know what that says. Thank you, subtitles. Koyomi dead? A sword has slain me? Almost a month since Kaganui Yozuru has disappeared from the shrine. Okay, but what was that stuff about you fucking dying? Poor good grace. Thank you, Senjogahara. What is this red? Last night? Okay. Yeah? Yeah, but you still made your way here, huh? There's some very, very specific timing involved here that I'll talk about. Why did that get repaired? Okay. Why are you acting weird? Okay, hello. I wouldn't trust this based on the editing. What? Okay. Okay. Sure. True. Yeah, okay, interesting. So she went after the master. I think we can imply who did this too. Okay. Hello. Hello, you. Okay. You've explained well enough, I think. Okay. What was that about Senjukahara almost getting run over too? Okay. Okay. Indeed. Look at all these, like, dudes. Okay, hello, Oshino Meme. Hello, Sodachi. Hello, Aragi's mum? I don't know. Tell me. Hello, Nadeko. I don't know. Whoever has no pieces, right? You did. He did. And then the Nadeko thing happened. Like what? Stopping your moves. Okay. Stop you. Yeah, she needs somebody to puppeteer. Yeah, Augie. Yeah. Some kind of sword, maybe. Yeah. Probably you're the root of the problem, Araragi. What is the phone? Well, yeah, I mean, It was implied from the start of the episode that this was happening, so... But gotcha, bitch. I like how realistic that looked. Okay, Araragi's fucking dead. That was an interesting shot too. Baby. Okay. Araragi's fucking dead. I can't believe it. Yeah, you got, like, murdered before then. Yeah, no Araragi. He's not making it. Does he even have a phone anymore? He kind of got disintegrated. So, okay. Listen. Listen. Monogatari? He shows up. So, like, what gives? I've long talked about graduation being seen as the end of the show, being seen as a death, and now we just did that in a different way, which is kind of ironic, right? I'm not sure I quite understand Gai Nezuko's motivation here quite yet, right? So a bunch of bad shit's happening. Nobody's the king. Nobody's enshrined. Nobody's, like, balancing the chaos here, right? So it's going to perpetuate, right? Instead of seeing Orgi as the problem here, we go straight for Araragi instead. Again, Araragi didn't do the thing where he, like, enshrined Shinobu. And that's seen as a problem. And then whatever we know about Orgi, we know that she's targeting Araragi. I don't know, I probably need to read through the episode again to get some more insight there. I think it is very clear, based on timeline stuff, where this episode is going from the first, like, minute. I was just waiting for it to happen, really. Which actually talks to... I'll talk about it here in a second. Oh, extra chapter? Oh yeah, of course we didn't get this. Where am I? I thought I fucking died? Not the sun. Yeah, you were. Oh, well, that's Hachikuji. What? Yeah, but you're here. But you're also dead. Is this the afterlife? The sun's interesting too with the whole vampirism angle. Okay. Cool, now I forgot what I wanted to talk about. I might watch the end of this recording session to remind me of what I wanted to talk about. But huh? What? Huh? Now I remember. It's because the timing, right? And watching Koyomimonogatari before Monogatari and vice versa, right? So that last scene of Monogatari, right? Is it the last scene? It's pretty much the last scene. That scene also takes place on March 13th, which is when this episode takes place, right? So we already know that Orgi has told Araragi about the true name of the first, as well as some stuff about the sword and how Gai Nezuko may make a sword. So almost like a faux warning there. It sets up an expectation for me, this episode, that probably shouldn't be there for this. Do you know what I mean? It's a bit of a reversal there, which I'm not sure works as a bigger reveal. Because as soon as I see, like, Koyomi dead as the title, and I see sword mentioned, I'm like, oh, I know what she's doing. Okay. But either way, I'll write some summary stuff, I think. Or maybe that's in vain until I maybe look through the episode again. I do not know. But that was interesting, for sure. Further analysis needed. So yeah, Araragi's fucking dead, which is cool. And this has prompted me to look around the series a little bit more and go back and have a second look at a few things. The first of which, I don't know if you recognize it, but it's called Peak. And it plays right now. It's like the best scene in the show, almost. This one in particular, where we go to the wide, is insanely good. Like, quite honestly, peak. But if we go a little bit further into the episode, let's say here. So upon, like, watching a bit of this scene, right, you don't see a lot of Araragi. So that got me thinking, right? I'm like, maybe this is like not a hallucination, but like some Force Ghost shit from Araragi helping Kambaru in this particular situation. This being the end of Hana Monogatari, by the way, if it didn't make that clear. Well, not the end, episode 4, but you know what I mean. Like, whenever we see him, we don't get a real good look at him, right? And I'm like, But then I go to episode 5, where we most definitely get a good look at him. He most definitely is alive. He's got longer hair and stuff. And he's like he's cutting hair, he's playing with objects around. He's most certainly alive, right? You'd need to have some logical jumps to say that he isn't alive here at this moment. His design's weird, though. So maybe, like, needs to stay in purgatory for a length of time to which his hair will grow? I do not know what the last scene implies, right? The other part I want to go to, and probably more of a discussion around placing in the show, is the last episode of Koyomimonogatari. So these setups by Augie here, in the last episode of Koyomimonogatari, they're not your everyday setups, right? This is the morning. Look, Araragi is in pajamas, right? This is the morning of Koyomimonogatari episode 12. It's the morning of that, right? And these specific setups are specific enough that they stay in the mind, and I'm like, okay, she's implying some things about Gai Nezuko and a sword, that when I see title is Koyomi dead, I'm like, okay, I know where this episode's going to go, resulting in what should be a really big moment for the series, not really hitting as strongly as it probably could, right? If I don't have this information and consume Koyomimonogatari 12, I feel like it's better. I feel like it hits harder, right? And it does. This is how the novel is supposed to go. Even now that I think about it, a lot of this stuff, this conversation with Yotsugi here by the door, is very important with the knowledge of Koyomimonogatari. And this walk during the morning up to the shrine is most definitely the walk where he goes up to the shrine and fucking dies. Like, you look back into the camera for a bit, and then walk up and fucking die. Gotcha. So yeah, it's cool. It's cool for what it implies about everything, and it's cool that we finally got confirmation of stuff. Don't get me wrong. I just think the reveal of it is spoiled a little bit by what happens there. But there's a ton of other stuff in the episode itself to talk about that's really great. I love the editing. I think it's one of the best edited Monogatari episodes. I really do. Something between the music, the tension building there, and the various shots of, again, these chess pieces all around the board and where they've been moved, right? And we'll talk about each and every one of them as we go through here in a second as well. But yeah, the episode's execution, fantastic. Just not particularly surprising to me, I would not say. The most surprising part at the end is the Hachikuji part. Like, what the fuck? What's going on there? So yeah, I'm a bit of a mess. I think we're going to get out of whatever the hell this purgatory type situation is with Hachikuji, and we're going to survive, and then something is going to spin off of that. Broadly, I think, right? Because I do think that he is alive in Hana Monogatari. So, like, he would need to survive this somehow. I don't know how, but he does. Gai Nezuko is good with a sword as well, no? Anyway, I should bring up the episode proper. So, as I've said before, I'll put what I need to put in my timeline as of the end of this, because I still want to reconcile some motivation here for Gai Nezuko. But episode is called Koyomi Dead, if I can bring that up. Yeah, there you go, Koyomi dead. And it starts pretty intensely, I would say with a certain level of intensity. The red is striking to begin with, for sure. March. Doesn't give us specifics for March yet, but we know the date. The real sword has slain me. It's really hard to take this any other way than what happens, right? As soon as I see this line, I'm like, okay, I have a pretty good understanding of where we're going. And then various body parts: fingers, wrists, elbows, forearms, ankles, shins, knees, abdomen, collarbone, jaw, nose, eyes, brain, crown of my head, slain. Probably works better in the novel, but I get what they want to get across. And then March 13th, we now know the date, we can now place it very well in our timeline. Early morning, I was climbing the stairs up the mountain with North Shirahebi Shrine at its peak. Did you mention peak? This has become something of a habit for mine over the past month or so. This is where I'll bring up something else, actually, just bear with me. I don't remember writing this down, but I did. Kaganui missing. This is something that is said in the dialogue in the last episode of Monogatari as well, which I didn't really think about all that much. Sure. Probably should have, let's give that one some italicized, maybe underline. Yeah. That one's important, because that one links into episode 11 very well. But the other part is that Kaganui has been missing for about a month or so, which doesn't vibe with my timeline particularly well, but sure. I guess whatever happened in Tsukimonogatari, whatever happened in episode 11 of Koyomimonogatari happened soon after that, right? Because almost a month had passed since Kaganui Yozuru disappeared from the North Shirahebi Shrine. Tsukimonogatari takes place on the 13th, then let's imply that Koyomimonogatari episode 11 takes place somewhere around the 15th or 16th. Then this would make sense to me. So this is the reason why Araragi is visiting the shrine each and every day, because he, again, feels some kind of responsibility around Kaganui, right? And making things right there. He was the last one that saw her as well, so again. Interesting, right? Because now Guy Nezuko knows where he's going to go each and every day and knows where to ambush him, right? I do like that Monogatari gives us a kind of view into his viewpoint at this point in the story as well. He's kind of parroting a lot of the, worthlessness of himself out, right? He's got a very low opinion of himself come this part of the story. Maybe the Orgi influence finally getting to him, right? Everything that's happened leading into everything, the whole Yutsugi situation impacting him as well, the whole everything, right? He's in a pretty bad space, mentally, going up here right now. Going into his, entrance exam as well. And this is what the first time we see it, and it's kind of what we end the episode on as well, well, one of the endings. We're preparing for final exam today. We're meant to meet with Senjogahara and go to our final exam. We're just making our way up here first, and we do not come back. If somebody thinks I need escorting when going to college, I'm rather lacking in trust. Interesting. I think it's just to be nice with you. I think this is more mindset for Araragi stuff, I think. And then last night we get a little peer into a conversation he had with Senjogahara. Like a dog that finds a bone while trotting about, you find apparitions when you trot about. Your scores are already above the passing mark, so as long as you avoid any situations where you're unable to take the exam, such as fucking dying, then your campus life is in sight, right? And nothing has really happened for the past month or so, right? It's been pretty peaceful. And yeah, pretty peaceful up until this moment. We see an imposing figure standing in the way of the shrine. Another thing I want to check is, has this shrine been repaired over the past little bit? It has, but again, it's been a month. But Orgi proper stuff? Maybe? Fixing the shrine? Because this is back in the previous episode. And it's definitely broken, so it has been repaired. I do not know. So this is what I talk about the editing and the shot selection and the cinematography of it, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen. Look at this, right? Funneling him in, right, with this angle. And then he crosses a boundary here at a certain point too. Guyan says some creepy stuff about Yozuru and Araragi, your body's in big trouble. Well, it is, you know that. But the one in big trouble is actually Yozuru. And Yozuru seems like the straw that broke the camel's back with regards to Guyan's tolerance of Araragi and his effect on the town. And then the music starts, right? Creepy music building up all through this episode, right? And Guyan seems off kilter a little bit, right? Yozuru being taken out was something that she probably didn't even know about, right? Maybe? Or maybe she did? I don't know. It seems like it's caught her by surprise. It seems like something that she didn't account for. Beckons him over, right? Great. Like, and then cut to Araragi, cut to Guyan, cut to Araragi, look down, walk forward, then cross this boundary, right? The point of no return. Just fantastic. Love it. That's really, really good filmmaking. So Kaganui was eliminated for Ononogi Yotsugi's detriment, basically. This is what we get across. Again, I think we could pretty well imply that Orgi's responsible for all of this, right? Like, Orgi's been moving people away from Araragi, basically in perpetuity, to try to leave him vulnerable. For whatever reason that may be. And we'll pan on various people and show how they've been separated from Araragi up to this point here in a second. But yeah, like, this is another step in that process. And I think in that process, in being able to take out Kaganui, I think Gainazuka sees like genuine fear here. So she sees like a genuine problem. So I need to nip this in the bud now. I don't care about the collateral. I don't care that Araragi's collateral here. I need to stop this problem. If Araragi is the center of this problem, right, then I need to get rid of him. It's weird, right? Because it implies that you can't get to Orgi somehow. And again, what is Orgi? Right? We've continued to ask this question for a long, long time. So yeah, to render the doll, who is Yotsugi, unable to work and help protect against Araragi, or protect Araragi from threats, you take out the master. You take out the puppeteer of the puppet. And that's what seems to have happened here. So one thing I was only kind of just thinking about now was that maybe Orgi went after Kaganui only with the knowledge that Araragi provided her. Again, what is Orgi's line? I know everything that you know, Araragi. So it's only after he was meeting with Kaganui that she knew where Kaganui was and could access her and take her out. So kind of using some of Araragi's knowledge for evil. Again, implying another reason potentially why Gainazuka potentially knows this and knows that if Orgi knows everything that Araragi knows, then Araragi's dangerous and they need to take out Araragi. Just a thought there. We kind of skip through chapters very quickly here too. I wonder how this is structured in the novel. And this is the start of it, seeing various characters and what they're doing at this point in time. So again, someone didn't approve of Yotsugi being there. This someone couldn't lay a hand on Yotsugi due to them being a genuine apparition. And yeah, we see the sisters here. I'm not going to show Tsukihi because her ass is sticking out in the bath, which I thought was strange. Karen's going for a run currently, which isn't out of the ordinary. So we're at a fork in the road here, right? One where Yotsugi stays as a bodyguard and is ineffectual to you. The other where, surprisingly, Yotsugi's human nature awakens and she tries to protect your intangible recklessness of her own will, losing sight of her duties as an apparition, which we imply is bad. We see Orgi here, who we don't get to look at her face, and she's broadly pretty happy. She's got her arms out, she's got the sleeves going. You'd imagine that she has some clue about what's going on, or at least some clue as to what she's done up to this point. But you wouldn't imagine that you would want Araragi dead, right? But you were aware that it was going to happen because you'd warned us about the sword, right? Weird stuff. Oh, I was wondering why we saw Senjogahara's dad here, but that's because Senjogahara's in the car. Gotcha. So again, like tense, panic, looking at watches. Everybody's looking around. Everyone's looking a little bit confused. Everyone's not quite sure what's going on here. And again, panning to these important characters in the story. Those that have been impacted by Araragi, those that would be impacted by his demise. And yeah, here we expand on it as well. So again, if Yotsugi awakes to her humanness and protects her out of her own like free will, her own like of you, right? Then I don't need to explain what happens after an apparition loses sight of her duties, right? We had a whole arc about that. It's called Onimonogatari. It ended relatively poorly for Hachikuji, which is interesting considering who shows up later. If she's no longer a genuine apparition, she can no longer meddle and is nothing for them to fear, right? You need to be a genuine article apparition to interfere with whatever the hell Orgi's got going on. And again, we never say Orgi explicitly, I'm just implying it because who else would it be? What's the point of taking things so far? It's almost as if they want to prevent me from doing something. Or is that they want me to do something? I do not know. Here's where we see, again, panic, right? Like, something out of nowhere. Car, like, almost hits Senjogahara. Like, what? Huh? And again, we've talked a lot about traffic accidents, right? Especially on like zebra crossings like this. Like, look how close this gets. Like, she's fucking toast. She just got hit by that car. The cars can't, like, stop that quickly. This is where we get Guyan also confirming that Shinobu is sound asleep at this moment in time, because potentially Shinobu could stand in the way of whatever the hell's going on here. So I see this as Guyan confirming that she won't interfere. Apparently, we see this as also Shinobu getting her life as close to the nature of a genuine apparition as possible by, again, being nocturnal, which is something a vampire does, in hopes of protecting you. Again, it almost seems like everybody knows that something's fucked, and Araragi's the one that's a little bit bewildered by everything. Having harbored, again, what I'm implying, is the person that wants him the most harm and is pulling all the strings, even this very morning, right, in Augie. Yeah, it seems like this genuine apparition thing is very, very important as it pertains to Augie. Yeah. Right? And Gainazuka sees Shinobu's efforts here as almost futile. It's difficult to prevent an assassination. For comparison, it's as reckless as trying to win a game of shogi without losing any pieces. This is where we bring up our grand shogi metaphor, which I'm just going to say chess, because, again, there's some quirks to the games, but they have the same basic notions, right? And I'm more familiar with chess than anything else, so we can probably apply that a little bit better. I do like this shot a lot. This could almost be a thumbnail, actually. And of course, Episode over there in the distance. We know Episode's role in helping create that sword that we use at the very end, calling it Dream Span from memory. So maybe that's why we're having a little look here at what he might be doing. I don't know what the hell this is. Is this a kaiki, right? I do not know. He's standing out in a crowd of normies, though. I do not know. Sacrificial pieces arise for even the most passionate commander. You seeing yourself as potentially a commander and taking out one of your pieces in Araragi here to try to win an overall balancing war of the town and the shrine and all that shit. And this is where we get to talking about it, like sacrificing a pawn in the way of a king, right? Because if you lose the king, you die, right? You could sacrifice a rook, a bishop, even gold or silver generals can be sacrificed at any time. Probably very good shogi pieces you can imply. I do like this. This is Oshino Meme. From what we've seen with everything else, this is like implying real world locations to where everybody is. So you're just in some mountain somewhere. Okay, we can't really tell where this is, but sure. So what this grand metaphor is saying for Guyan as well, right? The only piece that can never be sacrificed is the king, right? But there is no king. Again, the writing is on the wall for Araragi to go, right? I think the audience has assumed that Araragi was the king in all of this the entire time, but no. What matters most is the balancing. What matters most is what Gainazuko does about the shrine and stopping aberrations and that kind of thing, right? This is nice. So again, timing-wise, if I watched this before Owari Monogatari, I'd be like, who the fuck is this? But now we can imply some things about Sodachi, which is cool, right? Okay, so all of this kind of stuff with Sodachi in Owari Monogatari happens in October. This is now March. She's still alive. That's good. She's seemingly in a house that is very, very clean. Very, very clean. But the sun's a nice thing, right? When the last time we saw Sodachi, the biggest metaphor of it was a sunset, implying that it was a goodbye. This is a sunrise, implying a new beginning, implying some hope. That's good. I like this. I like this a lot. And yes, again, very interesting with timing. Like, I just wouldn't know who this was if I watched this in a different order. Then we get to see Araragi's mom here. Again, this is almost taking on a very... Like, Araragi would never interpret his mother. So Araragi isn't the point of view character here at the moment. It's like an overall point of view of Monogatari as a whole, right? An overview. But in the dialogue, she's explaining that every piece is losable except the king. But again, like asking Araragi this question, do you think you're the king? Araragi says, of course not. Right. You're a modest one, as you are. Right now, in this town, a king doesn't exist. A king looking over to the shrine, whoever was potentially enshrined at the shrine would have been the king at whatever moment. The king is the most important piece, right? And I'm willing to sacrifice anything and everything to get a king here, is what Gainazuka is saying. And if Araragi is the root cause of all the problems, to the point where I'm losing good pieces like Kaganui, then I need to just cut my losses with Araragi. That's what I see this as. Again, all of these different characters that have been separated from Araragi up to and including Nadeko. Hello, Nadeko. You're still doing your manga stuff? You got your ink out? It's very early in the morning to be working on this. Don't you have school? Let's have a little bit of a look here. As trashy as ever, for sure. This is almost like some Clanad shit. And this is very shoujo, being taken on by some sexy hunk of a man. Cabedon down here as well. I like her manga a lot. The position of king is open, that's why all of the shortcomings are happening. In other words, it's like playing shogi with all the pieces except the king. Pointless. Pointless at this point in time. I'm happy to see that Nadeko's style hasn't changed from obnoxious, cutesy pink stuff. Good. I have noticed a haircut though. Her hair is very, very short. Interesting. Potentially not hiding anything anymore, right? This turn of the head. Yeah, right. Like no big old bangs anymore. Even at this point in time, we see Kambaru training basketball, which is cool. Again, her senpai have gone at this point, right? So she's playing with her friend character, which I'm forgetting her name. So there's no win or loss at this point in time in this grand game of shogi for the town, because there is no king. We're lacking conditions for victory and defeat, and we want to change that. We want to mix things up. We're waiting for somebody to make the first move. We also get to see Hanakawa here, right? Who is on a train, sleeping, probably, again, traveling the world. So, far away, right? Again, Orgi has manipulated it to the point where Hanakawa is far away from everything else and cannot help. Because, again, Hanakawa would be somebody that would be broadly pretty useful at this point in time. The one who mentioned there was an epiness before chaos was Kaiki, I believe. I do not remember this line. I will take your word for it, Araragi. It's great to see that Senjugahara survived the car crash. That's good. Oshino tried to stabilize this town spiritually while leaving the seat empty as is. Traffic light mentioned. 10 points to fucking Gryffindor. And then, yeah, I entrusted this empty spot to you, Araragi. You were unable to complete that with the whole Shinobi situation. Then the Nadeko thing happened. Then we got Kaiki in to get rid of the Nadeko situation, and now it's just kind of been there. There was some shit with Tadatsuru up there, which was kind of weird. But other than that, it's been dormant, right? And more aberrations keep showing up as a result. Araragi may think that he's seeing no aberrations at this point in time, but that's mostly just because Yotsugi's been with him, probably helping him when he's sleeping and stuff. Yeah, I kept Yotsugi with you to prevent stuff like the thing that happened to Kaganui happening, but the thing that happened to Kaganui happened, so Kaganui's gone missing, Kaiki's disappeared, Oshinomeme's run away, let's keep going, Hanakawa's gone, Nadeko's gone, Sadachi's gone, but that's different, Hachikuji's gone, Kambaru's separated by year gap stuff. He's still with his sisters, I guess, but other than that, she continues to cut off people from Araragi, right? And yeah, I had to make moves by myself as a result of all of this, says Gai Nezuko. I want to contain this situation where the damage keeps increasing. So maybe I should say stopping moves rather than making moves in this case. And all the moves again center around Araragi. And Araragi's confused. I don't intend to make any moves. I think just your presence results in other people making moves, right? Araragi brings up, hey, Yotsugi's here to stop me from making moves. Isn't that enough? Well, no, she can't protect you, nor can she stop you at this point in time, right? Due to the Kaganui thing. So right now, Araragi, you can make a move, and there's no one to stop you. And to make things difficult, when you move, that side moves too. Which I think is implying some stuff about Orgi, I think. You don't have to think about where that side is, though? Is it Orgi or is it aberrations? I do not know. Maybe it's aberrations. Again, we're trying to balance the town, right? Wait, no, that person. Definitely talking about Orgi. Okay, I'm confused, but sure. It's dangerous for you to make a move because it impacts the people that we don't like in Orgi making a move, so we have to stop you from making moves. Move. And again, that side over there, right, Orgi, she's waiting for you to make a move, right? And as soon as you make a move, she'll make a move, and then somebody else will make a move, and then, right, it's like a duel where the first one to move loses, right? It's a dilemma, and it's centered around you, Araragi, right? I can see what the solution is, but it hurts my heart to actually execute it. You sound relatively happy about it, though. I think... Again, you have some kind... You're an all-knowing character. It's hard to have emotional connections to certain people, right? You liked Araragi in so much as he was a piece that you could use. You sacrifice him like you would sacrifice a piece for the greater good, right? There's no personal connection there. As much as you say it hurts your heart, you're not getting it across with your speech. We hear a phone ring here in Araragi's pocket. I was confused because I thought the editing implied that it was your pocket. And I'm like, who the fuck is calling Guy Nezuko? Could you fucking pick it up? But no, it's Senjugahara calling Araragi, asking where he is, which makes what happens all the more tragic. So again, Guy Nezuko sees this as a solution to clear the darkness that has long enveloped this city, to complete her goal and finally move on to something else. And that solution is, here it comes, ladies and gentlemen, for you to die, Araragi. Again, like, I've been through it. I think this is very, very well foreshadowed from the very start of the episode, as well as the stuff in Koyomimonogatari, to the point where this reveal itself isn't particularly surprising, especially the ominous nature of the end of 11 as well. It made me start thinking some stuff. It's alright, Araragi. It'll only hurt for a second. The most humane sacrifice possible. And here it is. And I really like the editing here. Just like really quick cuts, well animated. I love the realistic depictions of the body parts that are being cut. Like straight through the head for the Araragi model there, which was great, right? Where is it? Yeah, that's pretty gruesome, huh? Yeah. That one's pretty bad too. Yeah, we got him. And this is what it looks like when you die. To the point where he disappears. Again, he's an aberration broadly, right? So aberration killer works well. We see various visions of all the different characters within the Araragi harem flash upon the screen, everything centralizing on Guy Nezuko. Another look here, all the different characters that have impacted things up to this point, all the different memories, that kind of thing, right? I do like how we do see a Sodachi there as well, right? Specifically, the Sodachi from when she was younger, when she was sitting in the corner. Interesting. You may think I have some kind of obsession with Sodachi, but I'm just trying to think of my reaction in this moment upon seeing this character when I hadn't seen this character before. You know what I mean? That would have been so funny if I'd watched this first. Even down to baby Araragi. That was fucking weird as shit too. What's going on there? So the sword that was familiar to the one that I'd seen before, the blade she wielded, was the real thing. The original apparition killer, supposedly eradicated in the past, it was able to be reforged, again implied from the armor that was left from the whole Shinobu male situation. It's a shame it had to end this way, said Guy Nezuko. Again, no hard feelings, nothing personnel, kid, teleports behind you, sacrifice another piece on my board. It was just like Senjugahara said, for a guy like me, getting to the test center was the biggest obstacle to overcome. And I've talked about this before, graduation as an ending, graduation as a moving on, whatever the hell was going on with the vampirism stuff I thought was going to be the impact here, but no, there's something else, there's some kind of murder that took place with the sword. Yeah, and Araragi has failed in the, in the pursuit of not dying before his test. And of course, we get the snowflake melting in the hand, the pan over to Senjugahara, waiting patiently for her Araragi to arrive and them to go to the test together, which will never happen, which is just tragic. I wonder how Senjugahara is going to react to this. I wonder if we'll ever see such a thing. I wonder what this purgatory type situation we're seemingly in is now going to impact things. I wonder what the hell Hana Monogatari is about, where he shows up during April. Yeah, again, mirroring that, looking at the watch that we've seen a lot through this portion of the story. Tension being relieved as the episode ends. Or tension not being released, I guess I should say. Hear the phone ring out, and we head towards the credits. But au contraire, there is a post-credit scene where that kind of happy-go-lucky song of the ED is kind of in contrast to the ending we just got, but And yeah, here's the epilogue or the punchline for said episode. This would have been our last little chapter of the novel, you would think. The first thing we see is a tree and a sun, right? The tree relates broadly to the shrine in a weird way, almost like it's simultaneously in both areas of reality. The sun is... and he's able to sit in the sun safely, right? Implying that he isn't vampire, right? I know that he wouldn't be vampire because his vampirism would almost be taken away from him. It's almost like his humanity itself is being trapped here in whatever this state is. We'll get a better shot of the wide here, where it just seems like, again, an empty space where nothing really is. What is this? What does it mean? His eyes fucking pulsating all over the place. Almost like, yeah, pupils dilate when looking at light, so almost like looking into the sun. Confused because he thought he was just murdered, because he was. What's going on? What in the world did Guyan do? What did she start? And then we hear a voice, and we see two eyes and some eyebrows. Oh, you're awake. And it's the voice of Hachikuji. Or could it be, my oh my, did I wake a sleeping child, lullaby-san? Don't make my name sound like some cradle song. My name is Araragi. But nah, here she is, fan favorite. Hachikuji returns. It implies some bad things about where we are, considering we know that you're fucking dead. I'm implying it's some kind of purgatory, some kind of state between life and death, some kind of not quite the afterlife, right? Where for some reason you still won't even proceed on to that and safely rest. I do not know. I do not know. I do not know. And of course, just for, old time's sake, we do the whole name flubbing thing again. You seem broadly happy to see Araragi as well, which is nice. It's nice that she's back. It was something I had once liked, had once loved. It was a smile like the sun. And again, I'm talking broadly relating sun, vampire, Hachikuji. Apparition. Apparition? Oh my god. Apparition. Jesus. So nostalgic and one I shouldn't be able to see anymore, but I am seeing it regardless. So is the punchline that you couldn't make it to the test center and failed the entrance exam? No, I can't possibly fail with that punchline. And then that's the end of the episode. So as you can imagine, this has left me with a lot of thoughts. Should I attempt to write something? I probably should. I'm going to do that. Hang on. So again, here I've done my best. Araragi makes his way up to the shrine to check for/pray for Kaganui and her safe return, or whatever the hell he talks about in the start of the episode, that he feels some kind of obligation there. It is the morning of his final exam, and he needs to be relatively quick, but runs into Gai Nezuko when he comes to the top of that hill. Gai Nezuko is broadly pretty upset about how things have gone as it pertains, and again, this is an oversimplification. Basically, 60% of the episode's dialogue is about Gai Nezuko's justifications for what she's about to do. As it pertains to Kaganui's disappearance, which is important because it shows, I think, a level of power in the other side and what they're willing to do for certain things, and taking out Kaganui also takes out Yotsugi. So Yotsugi's role as Araragi's bodyguard is also in strife, right? But also as Araragi's keep him in check person as well. Both of these are now null and void because of the Kaganui situation. Hang on, this actually just made me think something as well. There's the scene at the end of Monogatari where I queried, hey, why isn't Yotsugi freaking out more about Orgi being in the room, right? Because I thought her whole job was to protect Araragi from Orgi, right? It's because Kaganui's been taken out. So Kaganui's been taken out, Yotsugi can't impact any of Orgi's movements around Araragi. Interesting. That recontextualizes that last scene of Awari. Because, yeah, it's kind of a plot hole, IMO, that she doesn't help there, but she can't, because there's no Kaganui. Interesting. Gotcha. The enshrining of a person at North Shirahabi, so Araragi failed to do that in the past, and the place is still vacant. This is our overall goal, I believe, as Gai Nezuko, to at least balance this location, to make sure that whatever the hell this juice around the shrine, this overall mismatch again between the shrine and the mountain, as well as whatever the hell happened in the past, making this little pocket place where the whole first situation manifested as well, based on all the information we learn in Shinobu Mail. This is Gai Nezuko's overall goal, to stop this, to balance this, to make sure that it's acting good. And this hasn't happened, through Araragi's negligence as well as Orgi's meddling. And the continued moves, speaking of Orgi, of that person, the continued moves they're making in the dark, right? That potentially Gai Nezuko isn't privy to, and she doesn't like that, and they may be nefarious in nature, and they may revolve around Araragi and challenge him to do certain things. Maybe Araragi has a certain set of power that he doesn't know about. I don't know, that could be activated by whatever the hell is going on with Orgi. Again, we need some more clarity there, I believe, but again, that's the show doing its job correctly, that it has me interested. So again, in our grand chess metaphor for the show, shogi metaphor, whatever you want to say, Guyan has decided to sacrifice a piece. That being Araragi, she believes Araragi was a piece under her control, but also something that could simultaneously be dangerous if used in the wrong way for the overall good of her goal, that being balance. This is what I believe anyway. So, and this is also the sword that Augie mentioned up here, Dreamspan. Something about the armor, something about episode, something. And then the last piece of the episode, the kind of post-credit scene where Araragi slips into death. He actually doesn't die and is in some kind of place with Araragi. That should say Hachikuji. Hachikuji. True. And yes, as I've talked about, Araragi shows up here somewhere. Well, he says his name there, but he shows up before that. Like, I do not know. I do not know how that makes any sense. But I've talked about, like, for 52 minutes about about like a 12-minute episode. So that showed how much I've had to say about how a lot of the different aspects of the show have built up to this reveal. Yeah. And again, I've talked about my, I guess, feelings about its placement. Probably in retrospect, it would have been a bigger reveal if I went through and did Koyomi first, but it also would have been broadly more confused about Koyomimonogatari and probably liked the overall season less. And what that leaves me with is, what the hell is happening next? From the first episode of Owari 2, are we going to continue from this Hachikuji situation? Are we going to get some clarity around Augie? How is Gainazuka going to react? Are we even going to survive? Are we going to flash back even further back? I don't feel like that's possible at this point in time, so I don't think it'll happen. I didn't really know where to place it, but another feeling that I broadly have is that Augie knew about the sword. Augie knew about Guyan's plan to kill Araragi, right? It almost seems like this is part of her plan as well, that Guyan is almost moving on her board. And that whatever's happening with the Hachikuji situation is, again, broadly part of her plan. Like the stuff we see at the very end of the episode. But again, I really do not know. It just seems like Augie still knows, which is weird. Wait, so how many episodes are left of this as well? Hang on. So there's 7 in Owari 2, and then 6 in Ozoku Owari. So there's only really 1 season of content left. Truly. Really. Like there's 13 episodes. Unless they're double length or some weird shit. But yeah, I'm wondering what else we can even do here besides just continue from where we are. I don't think we can go back anymore. At least that's what I think. So yeah, good. I liked it. It gave me a lot to talk about. It's intriguing. And I think I'll leave it there. Hopefully I made sense. Hopefully I didn't make too many errors. Of course, I'll be reading the comments. Please @me on Discord if my understanding here isn't correct in a detrimental way. I don't believe it is, but sure. But yeah, this was really fun, and I'll do my show stuff now. If you like the video, consider liking the video. If you like the video and you want to see more, consider subscribing to the channel. Comment below anything you thought about the episode, anything I could do to improve my presentation. Comment below. I'm doing follow for follow on Twitter, so follow me on Twitter if you'd like me to follow you back. And the Discord. Join Discord, vote on poll in Discord, do whatever else you want to do in Discord. Talk to me about Monogatari in Discord, and yes, I'll catch you next week for some Owari Monogatari second season content. whatever that may be. I'll get some stopping points or something. But yeah, I'll catch you next time. Thank you, and goodbye.